Hello, I'm Carla Martinez, and today I will be talking about how forest conservation is the future. Forest conservation efforts began in the late 1960s because many people developed a passion for nature and realized nature is crucial for future generations and having a healthy environment. Some contributing factors were transcendentalist writers who were focused on nature and the grief that came with cutting down trees. Although forest conservation is imperative to the environment, it is also important to humans and animals that are being affected by the factories and plantations that take the natural resources. Many cacao and palm oil plantations keep destroying the forest and causing more deforestation to produce more products for profit, disregarding all of the harm they are causing to the environment. Although most people believe saving the forest is important, others believe it's not as important as we make it out to be. The first point on this slide will be discussing that forests don't make as much oxygen as we believe. When the Amazon forest was on fire, there were misleading claims being made that the Amazon rainforest produces 20% of the world's oxygen. Some have taken it to mean that we're at risk of jeopardizing the world's oxygen supply. Several scientists have pointed out in recent days that the Amazon's net contribution to the oxygen we breathe likely hovers around zero. Yadvinder Mali, an ecosystem ecologist at Oxford University's Environmental Change Institute, bases his calculations on a 2010 study that estimates tropical forests are responsible for around 34% of photosynthesis occurring on land, meaning plants don't just release oxygen since they also use it. The second point will be addressing the fact that planting new palm oil trees in deforested areas don't make up for the loss. Palm oil production has been criticized by environmentalists because of its large carbon footprint and negative impact on biodiversity. For instance, in Indonesia and Malaysia, the world's two biggest producers, it has directly or indirectly caused large-scale deforestation, thereby reducing biodiversity and releasing significant amounts of CO2 into the atmosphere. Planting palm oil trees in the deforested areas does not make up for the lost carbon storage capacity. According to a 2018 study carried out by EPFL and WSO, the problem lies with the negative carbon impact and loss of biodiversity caused by deforestation. As the roots and other parts of old trees decompose, they nourish the soil and partially offset the carbon initially lost in the upper soil layer when the pasture land was converted. As a result, over the long-term cultivation period, the amount of carbon stored in the ecosystem remains unchanged compared to the initial level before land conversion took place, thus furthering the fact that planting trees doesn't help areas affected by deforestation. There are some people who do not care about the forest and think it'll magically grow back or will grow in the future, but to make sure it does grow, people are acting now to ensure future generations don't face problems concerning the environment. My first point will be covering how forest conservation boosts biodiversity when grown correctly. Lead author of the study, Susanna Flees, a PhD student in the Department of Biology at the University of York, said, "We also found that the protected forest sites, which stored the most carbon, also contained the highest plant diversity. So by choosing to protect forest areas with high carbon stocks, palm oil plantations will also protect rainforest biodiversity." For the study, the researchers measured trees and other vegetation in 14 forest areas protected in Roundtable on Sustainable Palm Oil certified palm oil plantations in Malaysian Borneo. The second point I will be covering is what world organizations are doing in order to conserve the forest and sustainably grow products. Most countries currently exporting forest-rich commodities, e.g. palm oil, soy, and beef, are in different stages of preparing or implementing national strategies to reduce deforestation and forest degradation, so-called REDD+ strategies. REDD stands for Reducing Emissions from Deforestation and Forest Degradation, Sustainably Management of Forests, Conservation and Enhancement of Forest Carbon Stocks in Developing Countries. I was first introduced at the United States Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change in 2005, where it was put forward as the leading strategy for climate change mitigation in the forest and land use sector. Even though companies are trying to do better to help forest conservation by making policies to reduce deforestation and protecting plantation areas to boost biodiversity, there are companies that do it wrong and are experimenting to please the masses. Despite there being no certain way to conserve the forest and keep producers and consumers happy, efforts are being made by environmentalists and governments to save the forest and other endangered species. Thanks for watching.